What's going on, everyone? My name is TheStarkz, and welcome to my movie review for the movie Dunkirk. Now, I just want to point out that I am a huge fan of Christopher Nolan, his movies, what he's managed to accomplish within the film industry. It's just phenomenal. He's a great person in terms of direction and producing. And I just love every single one of his films that I've watched, at least, including Inception, Interstellar, the Dark Knight trilogy, and his recent new movie called Dunkirk. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Dunkirk is an actual historical event that took place in World War II, so around 1940 or so. Maybe a little after 1940, honestly. I don't know the whole history behind it. However, I was taught it in history class, by the way. I've heard that Americans aren't taught that, but I'm not entirely sure if that's true. So, anyways, though, and essentially a whole bunch of men, British men alongside the French men, were being surrounded by the enemy team, Germans, essentially. And they were basically, stranded on a beach, and they had nowhere else to go, literally, besides swim. And so they had to wait upon, people to come and help them, essentially. And that's essentially what Dunkirk was. It was the event of Dunkirk, the actual event. And I feel like there's three elements or three categories that I'm going to be talking about in today's video. One is going to be character, story/plot, and the overall like just the cinematography and the theme behind it, I guess. So the first I just want to talk about is the characters. Now, to me, the characters were one of the most uninteresting things, just because I felt like Christopher Nolan, I even watched some interviews with him where he flat out said he wanted to focus on just one perspective of the war. I mean, there was three different perspectives, that being the mole, the sea, and the air. The mole being on the beach stranded, being bombed by the enemy team through their aircraft. Then you have the air team, these two British guys fighting off the other German flying jet dudes, pilots, I mean, there we go. And then you also have the sea, the people who are coming from their hometown or Britain, essentially, and coming to France to help rescue the enemy, their allies, essentially, their soldiers who are fighting to keep them safe. And because the characters within Dunkirk were uninteresting to me only because I didn't feel a sense, I couldn't connect with the characters. I felt their hardship. I felt what they were going through because of the awesome cinematography, which is the other category. But the characters had no other backstory with them, and I feel like that's a lot of the complaints that I've watched during Dunkirk reviews, where they said, yeah, it's probably the characters was the least interesting. There's Harry Styles in it and a few other guys from the Scarecrow from the Dark Knight trilogy. Awesome actor, actually. And yeah, Harry Styles was good, by the way. But no, for me, the characters were so uninteresting because they had half of them didn't really talk about what their backstory or why they want to go home so badly. Essentially, they just wanted to go home because they feared death, and I feared that too. I was at the edge of my seat throughout the entire film because it brought me such into the film. The sound brought me so much into the film. And that's the second aspect, or the second category, which is the overall, the cinematography behind it. Excellent job. I know Christopher Nolan helped direct the movie. I'm pretty sure he also produced it, though. And there's another director who I don't know his name, unfortunately, because I didn't search that up. I'm going to try to be a little bit more organized for my Planet of the Apes review. But he did an amazing job, or the entire team and staff who worked on Dunkirk did an amazing job with the sound design. It just came together so amazingly. And Christopher Nolan is a guy of realism. He doesn't want to give you animated shit. He wants to give you real life scenarios, real life things. And I felt that with Dunkirk. I felt every single moment of it. The sound was amazing. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it on IMAX nor 70mm. I don't think I never do. I don't really focus on the screens too much, as long as it's a good, decent screen. But in terms of the sound, it was loud and it was just regular. So imagine IMAX. Woo! That would be amazing. Like, honestly, that would be off the roof. Like, that would be insane. There were some jump scares a little bit there because I'm a nervous and paranoid guy, and it caught me off guard sometimes. But the sound design was so amazingly done. And the third aspect, however, is the plot. Now, another thing with the plot is I found it uninteresting only because it's just a war. It's just the objective was to go home, essentially, right? Or to get out of this target zone where we're getting picked off one by one. And you really felt the hardships that these soldiers went through. And even if this was a movie, I feel like I felt like I would have been a little bit more I was connected during the film. Maybe I have to watch it a second time, but when I'm watching it, I feel like I didn't feel like this was a historical event, although it is, and everything in it was most likely maybe not the most accurate thing in the world, but from Christopher Nolan and his research, I'm pretty sure, and his company, Syncopy, I think it's called. I'm sure they've done a lot of research for this movie. It took them like 5-6 years to make this since The Dark Knight Rises. So there had to have been a lot of research regarding Dunkirk. And so it felt so real, but at the same time so not. And I don't know why I feel this way. I think I'm just going to have to rewatch the movie sometime. And I might actually do that just to get a sense of, just to re-educate myself and whatnot. But you really felt the hardship that these soldiers went through. Every single moment, from just these suspenseful and intense scenes where a lot of drowning took place and a lot of explosions. And it was so, it's hard to say because, again, we were talking about historical events here, but it seems so simplistic and something that you can easily avoid, like being shot at or bombed or drowning or whatnot. Like, there was this one scene where Harry Styles and a few others were locked in this boat, and they wanted to get out, but unfortunately they couldn't do so because they were being shot at and they were too scared. And you really felt that in that moment, you really felt this form of intensefulness. Like, I was just so ready to see what happens. And another thing is, I forgot to mention, but Christopher Nolan's and the entire team who worked on Dunkirk did an amazing job with their execution. Although the plot wasn't anything aside from a typical war movie, because they focused on just the British perspective and not the Germans. Like, you didn't see one single German face. That is just amazing how we haven't seen any of the German faces, the enemies, and yet we fared, like myself included. And realistically, that's what would happen during war. Half of the time you wouldn't see an enemy's face. So the fact that this was actually in the movie goes beyond an amazing war movie. Like, this is just the epitome of a good movie. The execution was great. You had where they cut into different scenes, and it just brought the suspense and the intensefulness, off the chains, off the charts. It was just so amazing. And the more I'm reliving the time that I watched Dunkirk, the more I can come to appreciate it. Because honestly, this was one of my least favorite movies from Christopher Nolan, but I'm starting to think that it might actually be my best, because again, the execution was just done so perfectly. But of course, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about it. I don't think I missed any plots or any points, that I wanted to bring forth for this video. I'm going to try my best to bring a Planet of the Apes review as well, and do a little bit more movie reviews, because that's another aspect to my life that I really enjoy. Films and video games, those are two things that go hand in hand for me. With that all being said, of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and have a discussion with me. Like, tell me what you thought about Dunkirk. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What do you thought about Harry Styles? What did you think about the cinematography and just the realism of it? And yeah, with that all being said, of course, I'll see you guys in the next review or video. And yeah, thank you a lot for watching. Peace.